In America, we have first world problems. Things that have never mattered. Like it took 20 minutes to brew your coffee, your iPhone shattered. We're not all that battered by the problems we face. We know we're going to live another day. But there are people out there who will never be able to live life that way. Do you even want to know how many will die today? From hunger, 1 child every 13 seconds. Now tell me that's not the most heartbreaking lesson. And want to know what's even harder to hear? Their deaths are preventable. Isn't that just the spear to the center of your heart? There are no second chances for them, no restarts. And still, the worst part? They lived and died without knowing Jesus' heart. They lived and died in the dark of this earth, never knowing they could have a rebirth. Never knowing that this world is God's turf. Never knowing their ultimate worth. But we don't want to know, do we? No, we'd prefer not to see. We're 5 years old again, pulling our covers over our heads, saying we don't need to help. Someone else can do it instead. Because while we're gorging ourselves on junk food, others are dying, and it kind of kills the mood. So we pull our knees close, fall into our phones, focus more on ourselves and what it doesn't hurt to know. And people say we're cruel for not caring, and we quickly say no, and then forget their words, and go back to buying more clothes. You see, we're also convinced that the covers are our only protection. Have we forgotten about God's resurrection? He did not die on that cross so that we could be alone, and we constantly shove him away, but tell me, how many other people do you know who would die for you, take nails in their bones knowing that you would look at them one day and scream no? How many people do you know who would take your sins and step in for your blows? And what if that day Jesus had said no? What if that day he pulled his covers tight around him and said somebody else can die for their sins? Where would we be? Because when he died, he gave us a light for all to see, so that in even the darkest nights, we can breathe. Yet here we are hiding beneath our covers. In our world, there simply are no others. And Jesus is calling our name, but we are too busy with our earthly fame for the man who took our blame and died so that we would never have to feel our rightful pain. And now he's telling us, go into the darkest corners and light them up. And we're just like, no, God, I think I've thought enough. So because we're afraid, we'll let others die without feeling God's love? Because in some corners of this earth, people die without ever knowing God's peace. Which is why here today, I'm asking you please to hear his voice, because we had a choice to be a Christian, to have a relationship and a religion, but they never get the chance to feel the expanse of God. It's time to pull back those covers, for they are smothering your light, and there are people dying in the darkness, living in an endless night. And what if you were meant to be their light? It's time you feed your 5,000, although starving in wait. It's time they knew Jesus' love before it's too late. Because bleeding and scarred, Jesus carried our cross, died so that we would not be forever lost. Can't you hear them calling your name? 13 seconds. Will you break the chain?